Welcome to the Phantom Zone.
In this week's first episode is Subterranean. Clark battles Central American slave trader meta. Then in Hydro, Linda Lake is on the story of Lana and Lex. This is the Smallville Chronicles. Hello again. I'm Lou Gonzalez, joined as always by Alan Muir.
If it makes you feel better, I'm now hosting a podcast on the weekends. So I've screwed up so many intros now.
Oh yeah, I was just they conflated three different things. So this week we have, I would say, kind of two of the most throwaway episodes ever in many ways, except to show how evil Lex is in them. Because they really don't connect to anything else down the line, except that the second one has a recurring character because she comes back two more times.
Yeah, she does come back.
Well, it's their super cameo when we get to her because it's Tori Spelling. But this first one is oddly political for this show.
Yeah, back when the show was airing. There were so many videos based off just the ending of the episode.
Yeah, it's real interesting because I feel like in comparison, the Arrow gun control one was done really, really well, and this is so ham-fisted yet at the same time also problematic. It's over the top in both ways. The villain is so evil, but it's also I don't know, it's weird. But I do like the intro. Is this kid has been in a ton of other stuff, hasn't he?
Tyler Posey?
Yeah.
He must have, because
he looks so familiar to me. Is he from
Oh, he was on Teen Wolf.
He's Teen Wolf, yeah, okay, yeah. So he's a baby in this. And he's in Made in Manhattan, Truth or Dare, Scary Movie, but he's gotta be 12 in this episode. But basically, we start off with our introduction to Javier and his friend Francisco are horror movie style running through a cornfield along with a group of other laborers, quote unquote, / they I don't think they actually call them Mexican, but they're very obviously supposed to be Central South American Mexican immigrant laborers. So they're running and they're they saying he should. Javier's we should try to escape tonight, and Francisco's no. But then one of the other guys collapses from exhaustion, and then we see the farmer Jed shows up and tells everybody to get back to work. Okay, and then this basically that's during the day, and then at night is when we cut to them running through the cornfield, and you get a very Tremors-esque thing going on, and then Francisco just disappears. But Javier makes it to the road, and that's where we kind of get our "Somebody Save Me" intro, which is interesting. I do think I really like how this opens up, with none of our characters. I like the way this cold opens. Then we go to the mansion and Lana and Lex, that they've been kind of missing sleep over the proposal because Lana hasn't accepted. Lex says it was kind of impulsive for me, and you can take as much time as you want. But here's tickets, and you can go see this hoity-toity art show in Amsterdam to think about it and take your time. But it's also a way to get her out of the area so he can do his evil doings. And this is where we cut back to the farm, and Clark finds for the 7th time a random person hiding in the barn.
At least it wasn't a trap like that episode in season 1.
Yeah, or he found what's his name in the Candyman in episode 1, wasn't that?
No, it was early in the
season 1. Yeah, but this is the 6th person that's just randomly found. It's just run and hide there. So he sees that Javier's arms are all cut up, and he's why don't you come inside and get cleaned up and get you some food? And then inside they're oh, Javier, he learns that he was working at McNally's farm, but nobody there is allowed to leave, and there wasn't that much food. And he tells Clark that his friend disappeared when they were trying to escape, but he's from Mexico. He came with his mother. She works at a laundry company in Granville, and has been saving for 2 years for him to come to like live with her, but instead he ended up working at the farm. And basically he says like he's an illegal immigrant, so Clark can't call the cops. But Clark's like, I'll help you look for your friend because, he's Clark.
Yeah.
But I do think this is funny where like I think this is the beginning of seeing that Tom Welling is like ginormous. Because he looks huge, and this kid looks so tiny compared to him. So Clark leaves him at the house, and he goes to Jed's. It's like, I'm looking to borrow a tractor part, and Jed's like, oh, friendly. And it's like, basically like how his farm was doing crappy, but then the second meteor shower happened, and it's like really helped out his farm. And he goes to get the park, and Clark asks kind of the workers if they've seen Francisco, and then they mutter something in Spanish, and Clark doesn't understand. He leaves, but Jed kind of eyeballs the crap out of him, looking super suspicious. Clark gets home. He's surprised to find his mom home early, and he starts to tell about Javier when Deputy Morales, is this the first time he's shown up?
I'm pretty sure he's shown up at least one other episode prior to this.
Yeah, so he's our like newest cop guy, and says that they're looking for a young boy. They go to the barn, but they don't find anything. But after the deputy leaves, he sees that Javier is using his X-ray vision, is hiding in a cabinet. Tells him that the other workers, the word the other workers said, Javier translates it, which I don't. Do you remember what they say?
No, but
this is when like kind of the weird, where like because Martha's a senator, so she's like, yeah, I can't. Like this is like a real bad look for me. And Clark's basically like, well, technically I'm an illegal immigrant, and can you just give me like 24 hours to like figure out what's going on so that I can get Javier to his mom? She's like, okay. So he takes Javier to Chloe, and then we pop over to the Talon, and Javier and Chloe are looking up laundry services, and Jimmy arrives, and he's ready to take Chloe on a date, but he's like, oh, Chloe can't go, but then he like tries to cover it up by ordering a pizza. Which I guess this is like, I'm trying to remember, they like date for like a while, right? Like 2 seasons they're together?
They're together from this season.
Like, it's almost the end, right?
To the end of season 8.
Okay. Because I was trying to remember, like, when do her and Oliver eventually hook up? And I feel like it's never really shown well. Like, that's kind of like a forced thing at the end. But we'll eventually get there.
Yeah, like from season 9 onwards, it's Chloe and Oliver.
Yeah. So Clark meets the workers again, and basically they tell him that the ground swallowed Francisco, and this is when he x-rays the field and sees that it's basically a graveyard.
Yeah, that's
which is like horrifying.
Yeah.
So, which we don't technically know what's going on yet, but like something is sucking them underground, horror movie style, but then just leaving them there to die. And so Clark goes to Chloe, and she's like, shit's fucked up. And then they find out Luther Kerr actually bought the farm after the meteor shower. I think because like a bunch of meteors landed there. So Clark goes to the mansion to confront Lex. He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then during this is when Jimmy tells Chloe he thinks that Clark doesn't like him because Clark is in love with Chloe. She's just
I love how they got the aloofness of Jimmy Olsen in this.
Yeah, but it's just like Chloe is just like, oh no, Jimmy, no, that's no.
God, it was so good.
But while they're talking, like Javier has sneaked out of the window. They chase him down the street, but he jumps in the back of a truck. And then Clark's like, "Are you serious? You like got outsmarted by a kid and you let him run away? You guys suck." So Clark meets Jimmy at the farm, and this is where like CSI is excavating all these bodies, and McNally is arrested and put him in a squad car. Oh, but before they could put him in the squad car, this is like we get like the tremors kind of thing, and then there's like a hole in the ground.
Yeah, he pulls a Superman from the first movie.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like they don't super explain really how he's doing this. Because he's not like a terramorph or whatever. He's digging really fast, I think. He's like a mole man. because it's like he's not actually controlling the Earth. He's can just dig at like instantaneous speed, even through like asphalt. And this is where we kind of zoom out, and Lex is watching on his evil McEvil laptop. And Dr. Bauer comes in, and Lex is like, why didn't you tell me that McNally was killing his workers? And Bauer was like, we didn't know that. We only know he was able to like displace minerals and burrow through the earth. And they're like, oh, like we're gonna like our tech subject's gonna end up in jail. That we better find him before the police do. So yeah, basically he digs super fast, which is goofy. Clark goes to the planet to tell Chloe how McNally disappeared, and Chloe reveals that he was buried under meteor rock for 3 days, which I feel like would give him like mega cancer, but instead gives him mole man powers. So
yeah, it's modern day storytelling with concepts from the 60s.
Yeah, yeah, kind of like 50s, 60s. Yeah. So they're listening to a police scanner, and they get a report. They hear conveniently that there's a description that matches Javier's at a bus stop. Clark super speeds him and gets there before the police arrives. Javier's like, holy shit, and I won't tell anybody, which kind of interesting that Clark 99% runs into people that will not divulge his secret. Because at this point, he's revealed his secret to like 25 people that have just like Incredible Hulk moved on with their lives and didn't say anything.
Yeah, there's an episode down the line that explains why they don't why no one people who he revealed his identity to don't actually out him.
It's because he's awesome, I guess, and he like helps them. Because like there's like I'm thinking right now, there's like 4 I can think of off the top of my head, and then the really weird one in the reunion from the season 1, which like makes no gods of sense. Yeah,
he basically set him straight.
Yeah. So Clark and Javier are on their way back, and Javier's like, "What happened to Francisco?" And Clark's like, "He's dead." And Javier's upset because he's like, "It was my fault. I told him to go." And he goes to the edge of the field and starts to cry. Clark gets him back in the truck, but Clark is sucked under the ground, which we get a horrible CGI underground fight between Clark and McNally. And then Javier sees rumbling, and then Clark is standing next to him, covered in dirt. And McNally kind of pops up, like kind of dazed. Clark and Javier go to the farm, and his mom's there. And Martha's like, yeah, I used my connections to get them legal status because of the abuse, basically, that Javier suffered. Jimmy tries to convince Chloe to move back to Metropolis, I guess so he can get her more one-on-one, but she's like, no, I like where I am, which, in this world, I was thinking about that. How far away is Smallville and Metropolis? They're like 3 or 4 hours? So is she commuting that every day?
Yeah, well, I can't think of the episode specifically, but it was when Clark had the party.
Yeah, when his parents went away, and like they made it seem like
it wasn't that long a drive because they were going out to have dinner at a nice restaurant.
Yeah, but it's like New York. It's like having New York City, and then you go like 20 minutes out, and you're in like middle American farms. It's like a little strange, the geography. And so basically Clark shows up, and he's like kind of annoyed at the way like the McNally thing handled. And he's like, basically that like this is kind of a lesson where his powers can't solve anything. Like even though he related to like these immigrants, like he can't punch like that kind of stuff away. Then we cut to Lana, who shows up at home, and that when she was on her way, she felt like so powerful, having the luxury of Lex's fortune, and wants to use it to do good in the world, starting with all those illegal immigrants working in Smallville. She goes to the farm to talk to Martha about her ideas, but only Clark is there. And it's like a really weird conversation where he's like, Lex is just controlling you, Lana. And she gets pissy and leaves. And then we get Lex in his all kind of black outfit, which is interesting, researching and experimenting on the metahumans because they've taken back McNally. And this is like the new level 33.1, where it has been moved since Lionel moved it from like an episode or 2 ago in Static. Yeah, the last episode. And that's where we leave this. It's a fine episode. I like always when they do episodes to show Clark that like he can't like punch his way out of every problem. So like I kind of like that, and I think like I like the kid in this. I think it's interesting. It's just like the effects are horrible, and the explanation for McNally's abilities is goofy, and I don't know. It could be worse. Like I kind of think the next episode is worse, but like it's still like not an episode I will return to.
Yeah, I can agree. The episode
like
the next two episodes, however.
Oh yeah, the ones after Hydra are
really good.
But yeah, like I like the whole immigrant thing, but yeah, I kind of like whatever with this episode. The next one's like I feel like the next one is what people think of when they think of like Smallville, because it's got like a lot of goofy romance stuff and like bad special effects and like a bad cameo that will become recurring. So that's our second episode, which is Hydro, guest starring Tori Spelling, who was famous from, was it like 90210? And her dad is was like
Aaron Spelling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 90210 is her big thing. I remember her from that and like Scary Movie 2, which is really like she plays like a weird character in that. But she's playing Linda Lake, who I thought was like a comic book character, I guess, in the past, but I guess isn't.
No.
Yeah, her name was in the 90s Flash show, but like it's a very comic book character name, which I guess they do a good job, especially with her powers, which is funny because she's basically Hydra Man from Spider-Man.
Yeah, basically.
That's basically what she is. So we start with her. She is cast, I guess, like written into it being like the correct thing, where she's a gossip columnist. So she's basically like proto TMZ for the Daily Planet. And comes into the basement and wants Chloe's to make copies of her article. And Chloe's like, I'm not your personal assistant. And it's like, also like what you do is like really shady and shitty. And like, so this is interesting. So Linda exposed the baseball player of using PEDs and destroyed his career. And like Chloe's like, oh, but you ruined his career. And it's like, this is post-steroid thing in baseball. Like no one would have cared. Like that's actually like good reporting. And Chloe's like shitty about it. I really don't get her point at all. Like I think
it has to do with like the reasons that most people, that sports players had to do PEDs. They had to get on level where they could compete with the people who are already taking PEDs.
Yeah, I guess like to me, it's like they could have written a better reason for her to be a quote unquote like slimy journalist. Like this is like not a good enough reason for me to think that. It's more like, okay, so she outed a athlete that's cheating. Which
if they had written like something like he was cheating on his wife.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been much more effective.
Mm-hmm. Or if like, which I think they would do now, would be that he's closeted and she outs him.
Yeah,
that would probably be what they would do today. I don't even know. Actually, they might not even do that. That would be what they did like 2015, like 5 years ago. So Linda leaves work, and she's approached by this baseball player who's angry, and he's like, I won't let you destroy any more lives. And then she chases her into the fountain, which she disappears, and then he's pulled into the water and held under until he's drowned. So I guess she drowns him so that he doesn't tell anybody about her powers. Because again, up until she kills him, like she's really not doing anything wrong. Like she's attacked. She's like a small woman attacked by a professional athlete who's juicing, trying to kill her. So until she like kills him, she hasn't done anything wrong. But that's where we are. So we pop over to Lana's telling Chloe about the proposal, and she's like, our relationship is doing well, but something in her won't let her say yes. And Chloe's like, well, it's probably because you still have feelings for Clark. Lana's like, if Clark had asked her, she would have said yes immediately, which kind of flashes back to like
the 100th episode.
Yeah. Chloe tells her she won't be able to move on from Clark unless she talks to him. And then as this is going on, we see ominous bubbles in the water cooler. I'm trying, where are the bubbles Yeah, the water cooler, right? So,
Yeah.
which is really weird for Linda Lake to have gone into. So she turned into water and went into the thing. And how long had she been there? And did people drink some of her? So we get Jimmy meets his contact in an alley, but surprise, surprise, it's Lois. And she wants to buy pictures of Green Arrow. But Jimmy, this is kind of very, I feel like, Spider-Man-y, where he's all of his shots. It's like the reverse of Peter Parker, where like all his shots are terrible. But she sees that there's like a large cut on the Green Arrow's arm, which it's like Chekhov's cut. And so when then we cut to Chloe picking up her coffee and morning paper and sees Linda Lake's article, and it's like their entire conversation. And it's not like Lana still has feelings for Clark. And Chloe goes to the Talon to tell Clark because she doesn't want him to see in the paper. And because it also says how Lex proposed. And Clark doesn't believe the article is true, but Chloe's like, yeah, it's all true. And Clark's like, oh shit, and like goes to the mansion to talk to Lana. Which we go to, and Lana gets up. There's breakfast in bed. Lex is there, who also has seen the article, and basically is like, well, I'm glad to know like why you're hesitating. And Lana gets a call from Chloe. She doesn't answer, and Clark shows up at the mansion. And he's like, I want to talk to Lana, Lex. And Lex is like, she isn't here. But as Clark is going, Lex is like, you can't convince Lana to do anything. And they kind of argue. And Clark says that Lana's hesitation must be killing you, Lex. And Lex tells Clark that Lana won't turn down his proposal because she's pregnant. And Clark's like, oh shit, and doesn't respond. Which is a plot line that will carry further and further.
It's a bad plot line.
Yeah. But this is like, I do actually like this scene between the two of them because it shows like even more how far they've gone. So we go to Jimmy shows Chloe the article about Dawson's death. And he's like, I think someone murdered him, which I feel like that's not like he drowned in a fountain of like 6 inches of water. Oh, 2 feet of water, which is like, how do you do that? And Chloe's like, So we pop back and Lex approaches Linda Lake in her new office. And he's basically like, here's a blank check. Anything you can find out about Clark and Lana, tell me before you like, don't print it. Then we cut to Oliver, who is basically giving like a workout lesson to Lois in his giant loft that will become the new set piece for the show going forward. Yeah. And I think it appeared in what show was I watching? I think it's the same loft set that they are using in Supergirl for the Martian Manhunter. It was either that or the Green Arrow and the Black Canaries like pseudo pilot. That's Diana.
I'm pretty sure it was that.
Is that one that's Diana's apartment? Yeah, because I remember seeing it. I'm like, oh, it's the giant clock thing. It's got to be this like one place in Vancouver or whatever that just looks iconic. So they are working out. Lois flips him over and pins him, and they start making out. And she takes off his shirt, and then he has like a large scratch on his bicep. And he's like, oh, it's from fencing. And Lois is like, okay, and like, I gotta go, and like grabs her things very awkwardly and leaves. In the elevator, she's looking at the photo of the Green Arrow's injury, which, I kind of like that. Like, this is a good way of making Lois like not dumb. Like, there's like the goofy stuff with Clark, but he actually isn't running around as Superman at all. So like, but like making her like kind of put the clues together this early is nice. And so she needs more proof before confronting him. And so she talks to Clark, tells him that she thinks that Oliver's the Green Arrow, and she needs proof, and she wants Clark to help her. Clark goes to Lois's apartment and gets the photos, but is caught by Chloe. He tells her Jimmy took the photos for Lois, and Chloe's like, oh, I did not know that. And Clark's like, really? Because you've been keeping a bunch of secrets? And he's like, did you know that Lana was pregnant? And Chloe's basically like, this is bullshit. Like, I keep all these secrets from everybody for you. Like, I'm friends with both of you. You can't do this. Like, it's really shitty. I keep secrets like all the time to protect people. And she gets like really emotional. And then Clark's like, God damn it, you're right. And gives her a hug. But during this, the bathtub overflows, and obviously it's Linda Lake having heard the entire conversation. So Chloe finds Lana waiting outside the Daily Planet building, and Lana's like, "Did you give up this whole conversation to Linda?" And Chloe's like, "No, I would never do that. I hate that woman." And Lana's like, says that Clark has left her with doubts about what her friends will do. And basically it's like, I bet this means your conversation didn't go well when Clark went to see you. And it's like, wait, what are you talking about? He didn't come. And it's like, yeah, he did. And she obviously says like, oh, I didn't know that. And then they're going to find out how Linda Lake figured all this out. So Lois meets Clark in the barn, and this is when they hatch their goofy Oliver's the Green Arrow plan, because Lois is in love with Oliver and doesn't care if he's the Green Arrow, but she needs to know. And Clark says basically oh, you definitely would never let it go. Like, I know you. So we'll have to figure this out. So Clark goes to Queen Tower for movie night. Lois has purposely forgotten the ice and leaves to get it. When she's gone, Oliver tells Clark that it's showtime, and this is like the hilarious switcheroo. So Lois is getting attacked by a thug and calls Oliver pretending to be chased by thugs. Jimmy comes out pretending to be a thug, but then actual real thugs show up. So the Green Arrow swoops in, throws one across the alley, which I do think this is funny that they don't even attempt to have Clark do any Green Arrow-y stuff. What do you call it? Lois, so he swoops in, Lois approaches him and kisses the Green Arrow, and it's like Oliver's secret is safe with her. And then Oliver walks up behind her just then, and then Lois slaps the Green Arrow, and Jimmy goes to take a picture, but as he does that, Green Arrow speeds away, and it's revealed, obviously, it's Clark under the stuff. And he just has a giant smile on that, and because he enjoyed Lois's kiss, and obviously their ruse works. I feel like she even takes doesn't she even say a line he's a good kisser or something?
She mentions that he could, or that Oliver could take some
lessons or something.
Yeah.
Which is a fun way to kind of tease at their future relationship. So Chloe sneaks into Linda's office, and they're working on a webcam to find out what other secrets. And basically they find out that Linda Lake knows about Lex and Lana, and then sees the newest headline, which says that Clark is an alien. She's shocked, and Lana's like, what's going on? And they're interrupted, and Linda tells her that everyone will believe the article because Chloe can verify it. She is surprised that Chloe has kept a secret about her farm boyfriend that could make her career skyrocket. But Lana's on a weird Skype thing with her, listening to the whole thing, and Linda's about to say what it's actually about, and Chloe grabs the hammer and smashes the laptop. Chloe tells her that she knows that Linda killed Mike Dawson, probably from special ability she got when her van crashed into Crater Lake. Linda grabs a nail gun, which I feel is a very 90s weapon in this 2007 episode.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Lethal Weapon when she grabs the nail gun. She tries to shoot Chloe, but she runs out of the building. They fight in the street, and Linda runs after her, but Linda's basically Lana comes barreling in and hits Linda with her car, who explodes into water, which is kind of interesting because if Lana didn't know that was going to happen, Lana was straight up going to murder her. So then we get Jimmy shows Chloe the photographs of their encounter with the Green Arrow. But he's I got a picture of his face, but he sees that it's gone. Chloe invites Clark to the Talon, where Lois is recounting the thing from last night. Chloe implies that she is aware that Clark was in disguise as the Green Arrow, and kind of is amused at the situation. And this is where Lois is and saying the Green Arrow is a much better kisser than Oliver, and Clark's bashful about it. Then we go to Lana asking Chloe about what she and Linda were talking about, and Chloe avoids the question. Lana says She knows Chloe's helping Clark to hide something, but Chloe tells her that Linda was grasping at straws. Chloe assures her that she would never do anything to hurt Lana, who then sidesteps. Basically, like, you're kind of sounding a lot like Clark now. And Lana leaves to go talk to Clark in the loft. And she's like, sorry I didn't tell you about the proposal. Like, you're still part of my life. I can't cut you out completely. She asks Clark what he wanted to talk to her about. Also telling him she knows Chloe's helping him cover something up, and she wants him to finally trust her, but Clark says that everything is different now, and that Lex told him about the baby, and Lana says she doesn't want to regret anymore, and goes to leave, and Clark basically says, like, I hope Lex makes you happy. And we go to Lex and Lana at the mansion, and he admits that he is afraid of her answer, and basically, like, she says that, like, I'll always love you both, but she's done regretting, and she says yes. And they have a hug, and that is the end of our episode. And it's the Lex and Lana stuff is like the only part that's interesting, but like the rest of it is so goofy. I really don't like this episode at all. Like the switcheroo thing is so goofy. Like, it's just all of it is goofy, and it's like the way they write off Linda Lake is like terrible.
Yeah.
Like, because it makes no sense. Like, why wouldn't she just, like, come back? Like, she's not dead. And, like, I guess her, like, cover is blown, quote unquote. But, like, Clark doesn't even have anything to do with it. So.
So speaking of the filming locations, apparently they used shots from Batman Begins in this episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the streets of Metropolis.
Were they, like, is it Pittsburgh or Chicago that they were using in Begins? I think it's Chicago, right?
Yeah, and this footage was reused from Fallout, which, if I remember correctly, you said that it had a very Batman feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, aside from the Lex and Lana stuff, this was not the best episode.
No, especially considering like what is coming up, because our next episode is literally like a mini Justice League episode. It's called Justice. Where basically everyone is sort of in costume except for Clark. His costume is his red Carhartt and blue shirt, which is still better than the goofy leather jacket they end up giving him. And then the one after that is Labyrinth, which is like an awesome concept for like an episode.
And the first real appearance of Martian Manhunter.
Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like it's a very Batman Scarecrow or like Batman Hugo Strange like kind of idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got that. Quick round of plugs. Al, you have a bunch of new stuff going on. Why don't you let the people know?
Yeah, so subscribe to the Players Club podcast on iTunes and all the other podcast listening services. Go to vgu.tv to find content such as Keeping It 100, which is Emmett's ultimate, like, definitive ranking of a large amount of games. As by the time we're recording this, latest roundtable went up, which is PlayStation Memories. So yeah.
Yep. So check all that out. If you're listening to this, obviously you're checking out all the other stuff in the Phantom Zone. The comic show, we just covered like a bunch of stories from Hellboy, because we are planning to watch and do another watch party where we watched the 2019 Hellboy. Yay. So yeah, at least if you are listening to us watch it, it'll be more enjoyable than just watching that piece of garbage film. So yeah, that's about it, and we will catch you guys next time. I'm Lou Gonzalez.
And I'm Alan Muir, and this podcast stands for Truth, Justice, and American Way.